rolling. Hi everybody, welcome back to our weekly live stream. My name is Alicia, and this week we are going to talk about how to make sentences in English. Today's lesson I'm going to, as always, talk about in 3 parts. First, I'm going to talk about SVO, word order, the basic word order in English. I'm going to talk about transitive and intransitive verbs a little bit. I'm going to talk about part 2, how to make questions. And then I'm going to talk about commands, opinions, responsibilities. So today I want to introduce some very common and basic patterns that you can use to make statements, simple sentences, and to make questions. If there's time, I want to talk a little bit about prepositions like in, at, by, those words, but there's a lot to talk about, so I'm not sure. Anyway, we are up on Facebook and on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. As you join, please send a message in the chat. Please don't forget to like the video and share the video also so other learners can find today's lesson. Thanks very much for coming. I see lots of people on YouTube. Cool dude. Hi. Kas and Kuronaberu no hito. Hi. Digno. Hello. Billy, Jesse, take a shower. Roy, Shreyas, Alex, Andres. Hi, everybody. Facebook, I see people on Facebook too. Yudi and Benita, Tarek, Dens Silbeck. Hello, everybody. Thanks very much for joining us. Jassy on YouTube says, how's it going, Alicia? It is going great. It is beautiful weather here today. Okay, we'll give our fellow watchers another minute to join. So, quick announcement from me. I posted this on Instagram yesterday, but this was from our monthly review video. If you don't know about the monthly review on English Class 101's YouTube channel, every month we have a learning review video. It's a series, a monthly series, and you can actually send us audio and video. So we ask you to introduce yourself, or this month, I guess this month's theme or this month's challenge is to tell us about your city or your country. So if you want to participate in next month's monthly review video, you can check the English Class 101 YouTube and send us all of your submissions. So we got one interesting one from Mexico, I think it was yesterday. That was really cool. So I hope lots of people tell us about their cities and their countries for next week. So please check the monthly review video. This was just after we finished this. I actually listened to your audio and video messages from that iPad in the picture. And then we talk a little bit about your submission. So if you want to participate next month, please do that. That would be awesome. Okay, great. So with that, let's get going on today's lesson. There's a lot to do. And as always, please don't forget to check your free stuff from below the link on YouTube or below the video, the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. There are free vocabulary and phrase PDFs that you can use to practice English. Okay, let's get started. If you have questions, please send them in the chat. I will try my best to answer them. We shall see. And also, don't forget, if you haven't already, to like and share the video. I'm going to share the video, and then I am going to start the lesson. Okay, so as I said, I want to begin today's lesson by talking about basic word order in English. So, English is what's called an SVO language, SVO word order. Here's where we're going to start. SVO for making simple statements. So SVO refers to S, subject, V, verb, and O, object. Subject, verb, object. So when we make simple sentences, our vocabulary words must follow this order. Subject first, verb second, object third. This is the most basic way we make sentences. So what are these words? What are subjects? What's a verb? What's an object? A subject, the subject of your sentence, is the person or the thing that's doing the action. So in this case, like, I am teaching, for example. I, that's the subject, the person acting. You are listening, or you are watching. You is the subject of the sentence. Subject is the person or the thing acting. The person or the thing acting. They're doing something. That's the subject of a sentence. Second, the verb, the second item here, a verb. A verb is a word that refers to an action. So the thing happening, our action, teaching, listening, watching, sleeping, eating, verbs. So those are all in the progressive tense for sure. But we can also use state of being. So to be, being. So an action, we are doing something, or our status, a state of being. That's a verb. Finally, the object, the last item here. Object, the object of a sentence is the person or the thing receiving an action. Receiving this action actually. Receiving the verb. The verb is like influencing the object here. So in my example sentence, like maybe I am teaching you. So you are my object in that case. So let's take a look at some very simple sentences to see how we make them. I want to use this one to practice. Let's look at this simple sentence. I ate dinner. I ate dinner. So here in this sentence, I is my subject. So who ate dinner? I ate dinner. The person doing the action is I here. That's my subject. My verb, this is ate. Ate. Ate is the past tense of eat. Eat is present tense. Ate is past tense. I ate, so that's my verb. My verb is ate. Finally, dinner here. Dinner, this is my object. This is my object. So this thing, dinner, this was like the influence. It received this action. So what did I eat? What received this action? I ate dinner. That was the thing I ate. I received, or rather, dinner received this action or was influenced by this verb. Subject, verb, object. This is the basic way we make sentences in English. Of course, if you want to be specific, you could change dinner to like chicken or salad and so on. But this SVO is very important in English. We cannot change this order. If we change the order, we make a different sentence. We totally change the meaning of the sentence. So let's take a look at the next part here. I have a tip. A lot of you ask, like, how do I make long sentences? How do I say like long statements? What should I do? One tip, if you're okay with this kind of sentence structure, like just making simple sentences, if this is okay for you, then practice using these coordinating conjunctions. Coordinating conjunctions are those connecting words. They are and, but, or, for, so, nor, yet. These words. These are coordinating conjunctions. So if you want to make longer sentences, use these to connect your simple statements. This is a good way to start making longer sentences. For example, I ate dinner, same as this, I ate dinner and, coordinating conjunction, and I watched a movie. I ate dinner and I watched a movie. There's two ideas in the same sentence. We connected them with a coordinating conjunction. I ate dinner and I watched a movie. Another point here. In this case, in this example sentence, your subject, this subject, I ate dinner, in this idea, here, my subject is I, and here, I watched a movie, here, the subject is I. Again, the same subject. So native speakers will often drop this second one, this second subject. I ate dinner and watched a movie is very natural. So if your subjects match, you can drop this one. So he ate dinner and watched a movie. Okay, he ate dinner and I watched a movie. That sounds like two separate actions. So if your subjects are different, you have to keep both subjects. If your subjects are the same, you can drop it. Okay, So let's go on to the last point here. The last point is about transitive and intransitive verbs. Transitive and intransitive verbs. What are these? These are two categories of verbs. A transitive verb must have an object. So remember, an object is that thing receiving the action, yeah? Dinner is my object here. A movie is my object in this sentence. A transitive verb, this is a category of verb, a type of verb. A transitive verb must have an object. Some more examples. I like flowers. My verb is like. Like is a transitive verb here. It must take an object. I like flowers. Let's buy coffee. Let's buy coffee. Buy is a transitive verb here. My object is coffee. So here in these sentences, if I remove the object, I don't understand the sentence. Like, let's buy what? I don't know. Or I like. This sentence doesn't make any sense. I like. It doesn't make sense. We must use an object with a transitive verb. We have to. On the other hand, however, intransitive verbs. So in, maybe you've seen this in the prefix video. We can use in to mean not. Intransitive verbs, these do not require an object. Be careful. Does not require does not mean don't use. That doesn't mean don't use. It just means we don't need to. Not always, not always. For example, I slept. I slept. Slept is the past tense of sleep. Sleep. I slept. So no object necessary. He cried. Cried. Past tense of cry. He cried. Or she exercised. She exercised. So we do not need an object. We don't need an object always when we use an intransitive verb. Yes, sometimes we do include an object to be more specific. For example, she exercised her arm muscles or something like that. Or I slept, let's see, in my bed or something. We can include more information, yes, but we don't always need to use an object with an intransitive verb. So if it's difficult to remember which is transitive, which is intransitive, I read a good article on, I think, Grammarly.com. Maybe many of you know this website, Grammarly.com. They had a nice article with a good hint. If you remember, transitive verbs has like that transfer, that kind of sound like transfer. Like we have to transfer like the activity in the verb to the object. That was kind of a nice way to imagine or to remember the difference between transitive and intransitive verbs. That's one point. Point two, about transitive and intransitive verbs. There are many verbs that can be both. They can be both transitive and intransitive. For example, exercise has a different meaning. For example, she exercised her right to vote. That's a different meaning of the verb exercise. That's a transitive meaning of the word exercise. So yes, sometimes, or in many cases rather, there are verbs we can use both transitively and intransitively. But this is the difference between these two. Okay, that was a lot of information. Whew. Okay, if you have questions, please send it in. I will try to check as many as possible. Let's take one quick break, and then we'll go to part 2 of today's lesson. So, as always, we have free stuff for you. I will go to the webcam over here. So for today I'm focusing on sentence making, and so when I show these PDFs, I often show like the front here. I'll go over here. I often show the front here, but important to note is on the back, like here, this one's about travel, for example. On the back of each PDF is a list of like questions or phrases. So part 2 of today's lesson will be questions and like confirmations and stuff. But on the back of each of these, this is business English. I know many of you are studying for work. On the back, you can find sample phrases. So these phrases depending on your needs, could be really useful, of course, but also good ways to practice your sentence order, like building simple sentences. So this is some questions and some phrases you can use for a business meeting. For those of you, for those of you who are beginners, more beginners, this one, family, yes. But it has a list of expressions for the first time you meet someone. So if you're not sure about if you're not sure about maybe basic expressions that you can use in conversation, this might be a good one. This is the family and relatives one. Or you can choose from all the other ones that we have for free. So please take a look. You can find the link below the video if you're watching on YouTube, or above the video if you're watching on Facebook. They are free, so you can make an account if you do not have an account already, and start studying with those. You can download those PDFs, all of them, not just one, but all of them. So please have a look, and hopefully you can practice making sentences and reviewing those sentences. Okay, someone says, I can understand your sentences, Alicia. Woohoo, that's great, that's great. Okay, great. So let's carry on, let's continue. As I said, today's lesson is about how to make sentences in English. If you have not yet, please do like and share the video. We really appreciate it. Let's continue to part 2 of today's lesson. Part 2 of today's lesson is about questions. So I'm going to a little quickly cover 1, yes/no questions, and 2, information questions. Information questions means like the WH questions, who, what, where, when, why, those things. So let's begin though with yes or no questions. Let's start with yes or no questions. So when we make yes or no questions, we use is or are at the beginning of the sentence, or we use do or does. And lots of people ask, like, what's the difference between these kinds of sentences? So let's look at some examples first. And let's see how we make these sentences. So first, for example, this one begins with are. Are you going to work today? Are you going to work today? Let's compare this sentence with, do you go to work every day? So, are you going to work every day? Are you going to work today? And do you go to work every day? These are the key differences in this sentence. So what is the difference here? Why did we make these sentences differently? What's the deal? So this first, a big hint here is our verb. So you'll notice this follows the same pattern here. Here's my subject, you. These verbs here, these are like helping verbs, yeah? So these are kind of helping us to make the sentence. This is or are or the do and does. These verbs are helping us. Our subject here is you. And our verb, our basic verb is the same here, go, yeah? But in this sentence, going. Are you going to work? So to work, that's our object. And then we have some extra information in this case. So what's the difference? Are you going to work today? When we use the progressive tense, we're using it to explain a temporary action, something that's special, so not part of our regular schedule. We're making a yes or no question here. Are you going to work today? Like, for example, it's a holiday, and the speaker wants to know, are you going to work today? So we use progressive tense here. This shows it's a temporary action. It follows the same basic sentence structure, the SVO sentence structure. It just begins. The beginning is this helping verb, though. So compare this then to, do you go to work every day? Do you go to work every day? Here, my verb go is simple present tense. So simple present tense, one of the ways that we use simple present tense is to show regular actions. So every day or every week, every month. So going here, progressive tense, shows a temporary or a special action, a one-time action maybe. This one, present tense, shows a regular action. Our helping verb here is do. Do you go to work every day? This is a question about the listener's regular schedule, their regular activities. Do you go to work every day? Yes, I do. Or no, I don't. I work part-time. So the difference here, this one is a temporary question. Today only. That's what this means. This one is a regular activities question. Do you go to work every day? Every day, regularly. That's the difference between these two helping verbs beginning the sentence. Okay. Challenging. I'm checking your questions. Let's see. I don't see anything. Okay, let's continue on. So let's compare this then, or let's also look at a negative example. So here I have the positives, isn't, are, and do and does. We use the negatives as well, isn't and aren't, here in this case. So let's start here. Isn't she going to work tonight? Isn't she going to work tonight? We use this negative to begin a confirmation question. Like, I'm not sure. I want to check. I want to confirm. Isn't she going to work tonight? So here, again, we have this is or are, in this case negative, paired with my verb in the progressive form, going to. Isn't she going to work tonight? So let's compare this then with doesn't. So over here, when we make the negative doesn't, we use doesn't here. Doesn't he go to work at night? Doesn't he go to work at night? So here again, the same hints, yeah? So my verb again is in simple present tense. That shows it's a regular action. And this at night, this means generally. In the first sentence, it's tonight, meaning tonight only. So, like a temporary action, a special situation with is and are, a regular action with do and does. Okay, let's continue on to next. Yes, some of you are answering. No, I don't. No, I don't. No, I'm not. Good. Okay, let's continue to the second part here then. The second part is about information questions. So when I say information questions, I mean questions that use those WH questions, who, what, where, when, why, how. So just a few examples. We begin our question with the WH question, and then we'll use these helping verbs again, these same helping verbs, do, does, is, or are. So in many patterns, we do use those. There are some cases where you might not see them, but for today's lesson, I want to look at how we use them together with these WH questions. For example, past tense, what did you eat? What did you eat? So again, we have this question. We need our information here. What kind of question? It's a WH question, what? What did you, you're the subject, and your verb, eat? What did you eat? You could include more information if you want. What did you eat for dinner? That's great. What did you eat for lunch as well? So we don't have to include an object here. This one, who is she? Who is she? This is a very simple one, actually. Who is she? Who is she? And when are you arriving is another example. So this one uses, these two actually use this is or are helping verb pattern. And again, you'll notice we're using this ing form here. So one point to be careful of that I sometimes see with learners, we do not use this do verb and the to be verb in the same question. Like, what did is you eat? I'm not sure, but we do not use these two together. Those helping verbs do not appear together in questions. So please be careful. So you only need one of these helping verbs in your questions. Okay, I have to continue on to the next part of the lesson. I will take one more quick break and then we'll review some patterns you can use. Some of you are asking about it, and then we'll finish for today. So if you missed it, I was talking earlier about the free stuff that we have for everybody below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. The link is there. I will show you a few more examples for those of you who are students. This one, I think we'll go to webcam. Okay, so this one is the back to school one. But again, I want to focus today on the second page. There are phrases you can use for different situations. This is for classroom situations. So these are some ideas and some ways to practice making sentences. For those of you interested in music, it says singing, but this is actually music. On the back, if you like music, here are some phrases for talking about music. So again, basic sentence patterns. Like we just talked about this sentence pattern in part 1. I love music. I love music. Like subject, verb, object right there. Simple example. Maybe one more. Let's see. Here's one for hotels. I know lots of you travel for business and work. So on the back here, again, sentences to use in a hotel. So please check these out. Depending on your needs, depending on the things that you need to do, take a look at these, and then you can get kind of like some more practice with the actual expressions that people use in these situations. Okay, with that then, let's continue to the last part of today's lesson. If you're just joining, we're talking about how to make sentences in English. How to make sentences in English. Please make sure to like and share the video if you have not already. Also, you can find the PDFs I just showed you from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. Okay, onward. Commands, opinions, responsibilities. I included all of these because they're quite common. And also we can look at how these are slightly different from the basic sentence order I introduced at the beginning of the lesson. Let's begin here with advice. In this, I'm focusing on using should for basic advice, general advice, and the negative shouldn't. For example, he should quit his job. He should quit his job. Subject, he. My advice word comes before the verb. So this is a pattern you will notice in all of these example sentences. When we make a change, like to express responsibility, to express advice, to give a recommendation, we'll see the change come before the verb. Quit. Quit is my verb, means to stop. Quit. And what should he stop? What's my object? His job. His job. He should quit his job. This sentence, he quit his job. That's a simple past tense. That's a simple past tense statement. So be careful. He should quit his job. He should quit his job. Okay, let's compare to a negative. They shouldn't yell at us. They shouldn't yell at us. Subject, they. They're the people acting. Here's my advice word. In this case, negative. Shouldn't, which is the reduced form of should not. Yell is my verb, so that means using a loud voice. At us, in this case, I'm using a preposition. This yell, we often use yell at or sometimes yell to. This verb takes a preposition at here and us. We are receiving this action, yelling, someone yelling. So they shouldn't yell at us. They shouldn't yell at us. So when we make a basic advice statement, like with should or shouldn't, we place this before the verb in the sentence. Okay. So let's move on to the next part. These are commands. So I'll label these actually for ease. Commands, advice. Okay, so for commands, what's kind of special about commands is sometimes we drop the subject of the sentence. We'll drop the subject of the sentence. The second one is a great example of this. First though, don't don't. So do or do not sometimes begins a command or a formal request. In this case, don't bite, verb, your nails. So your nails is this part of your body. Like some people bite their nails. So don't bite your nails. This is a command form expression with a very clear don't. Do not, verb, object. Do not, verb, object. Compare this to this one. Stop staring at me. Stop staring at me. So here you'll notice there's no like subject. What's the subject here? In these command form statements, we understand the subject. So if I notice, like my brother, for example, my brother is staring at me and it bothers me, I would say to him, stop staring at me. Like I don't need to say you because it's clear in the conversation. I begin with the verb and this makes it a command form. This sounds quite strong too. Stop staring. So to stare means to look at someone for a long time, like closely. Again, this verb takes a preposition here, to stare at someone. In this case, me is the object. Who is receiving this staring thing? It's me. Stop staring at me. This is how we make commands. So a good maybe way to remember this is that they begin with a verb in many cases. Okay, let's go to the last part. I'm over time as always. The last part is responsibilities. Okay. Responsibilities, that's a long word. Okay. 2 examples. These examples, I've used positive examples, have to, and need to. They mean the same thing, really. So again, as we saw with advice, our modification here comes before the verb. So in this case, I have to go to work. I have to go to work. So this part here, have to shows responsibility. This have to shows a responsibility. It's before the verb. Go. Where? To work. I have to go to work. My subject is I. So we add an extra piece before our verb to show responsibilities or to give advice. One more example. She needs to speak with you. She needs to speak with you. So again, this part, need to, in this case, needs. So because my subject is she, remember we conjugate the verb when the subject is she, he, or it. So we take need and change it to needs. So she needs to speak with you. So subject, responsibility expression, verb, and then again preposition. So speak takes a preposition in this case with you. So our object, who do we need to speak with? With you. So these are some very common advice, command, and responsibility patterns that are kind of simple ways to level up the basic SVO word order. So for example, if we go back to like the beginning of today's lesson, I said I ate dinner. If we use the same verb, like I eat dinner, for example, we could use this like responsibilities. I have to eat dinner. Or maybe, I should eat dinner. So just using these words can change the meaning of the sentence. Yeah? So like advice word, if I say, in my case, I'm going to change this to present tense. I should eat dinner. I'm giving myself advice. Like, I should eat dinner. It's late. Or here, maybe speaking to a friend, I have to eat dinner. Sorry, I have to go. So we can change the meaning, the feeling of the sentence just with these simple changes before the verb. So right here in the sentence. But as I said, this is the most basic sentence order. So we cannot change this. If we change like object and subject, we change the meaning of the sentence. So we'll finish there for today. Phew, that was a lot. So I have to end there. But that was a lot of information. Thanks very much for joining in the chat. I saw lots of people watching. That was fantastic. But I'll end there for this week. Today, let's see. Today, what am I trying to say? our next lesson. We'll be back next week. As always, next week it will be the date April 17th. Wow, halfway through April. April 17th, the topic will be another viewer request. I asked you guys on Instagram a while back about your live stream ideas. So this was another popular one, making friends in English. So I'm going to focus on like making invitations, making plans, and kind of those little ways that, you know, we connect with people and we spend time together. So please join us next week, April 17th at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That's New York City time. If you don't know your local time, please Google it. Please join us then to talk about making friends in English. We'll be back. Looking forward. And of course, don't forget to download your free stuff from the link below the video on YouTube or above the video on Facebook. Also, don't forget to, if you want to join Monthly Review next month, please send us your audio or video submissions. We're really looking forward to those. So we'll finish today's lesson there. Thank you very much to everyone for joining. If you have questions, send them in the chat. I will check after the lesson. And we'll see you again next week. Enjoy your evening, enjoy your weekend, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.